What's going on, guys? It's Clark Taylor from Wrestling Republic. Welcome to the daily broadcast. We're back. We're here. It's New Year's Eve. It's a New Year's Eve edition. And I guess I'm hosting, so that feels good. That's cool. And I also just wanted to make sure I wish everybody out there a Happy New Year. And we got a sweet topics list. Mostly we're just going to talk about SmackDown from last night. It was a pretty explosive show. It felt, there was no true December pay-per-view this year in the WWE, so it felt like maybe the borderline equivalent, so we're going to treat it as such. And we'll toss it around to get us started. To start us off, we're going to talk about the Bray Wyatt Uncle Howdy situation. But if you guys want to get something out of the way on Happy New Year and all of that first, I'm going to go Ignacio. I'll just go top to bottom here on that right side of the screen. Ignacio, if you have any thoughts on Bray Wyatt, Happy New Year, or any of that, let's get us started.
Well, Happy New Year to all you guys at Wrestling Republic and all our viewers that watch and continually watch, all our regulars. And for those of you who do watch the show on a regular basis, the Daily Show or Take It to the Table or Soul Sessions or whatever, make sure you tell all your fellow wrestling fans about it. We like to engage in healthy discourse here, even though it gets a little heated at times, especially with me and Soul or what have you. It's all in good fun, and we just like talking about wrestling, man. That's about it. That's what we're here to talk about. We're here to do because we love it, right?
100%.
Absolutely. So let's get it going as well. What do you got?
Hey, well, it's the end of 2022, and I will say, my full words can be found on the Soul Sessions official account on Instagram. I posted a wee 3-minute video in there just summing my thoughts up for the year and the show, and I do say thanks on it as well. I mean, this is a hell of a crossover episode as well. This is basically Take It to the Table versus Republic Ramble. In
a way it is.
Hey, this has been fun. First full year of doing Wrestling Republic, pretty much. I joined in the later half of 2021 as a news writer, and now started this year as media personality, and here we are, end of the year, another episode of SmackDown. I just want AEW for next week, and then I'm fine. I'll be happy. I'll be truly happy.
Well, we definitely are getting in a rhythm, and then Coby, you finish us off here, and then we'll get right into Bray Wyatt last night, right? We'll get into the actual wrestling talk that we're here for.
Definitely, 100%. I do want to say this year has definitely been, I don't want to say it's the ups and downs, but I mean, I've had an impact. I joined like middle December of last year, and we instantly turned everything upside down in the reviews area. We made a system. We made an actual reason to say, if this is a 5-star match, we can explain to you and our thoughts why it's a 5-star match. And that was kind of the big issue between, we see Meltzer giving these 5-star ratings, and it was it's been taken as gospel in a way. So part of it is like, that's one of the major impacts I've been able to cause this year. And I mean, this is just me going on about the recap. And then we have the Republic Ramble, that me and Clark are doing.
It's been a blast,
podcast.
My friend.
It's been a blast. We haven't done too many episodes just due to time, and we originally had the year-end review, or we originally had the half-year awards, and then scrapped it completely after it took us 45 minutes for one award when we were attempting to do like 10 awards, and it was like, well, that's going to be like 4 hours.
There was nothing on the end of the year awards.
We've had to call some behind-the-scenes audibles definitely on the Ramble, but I think it's become a special show, right? We only release it ever so often. There's been 3 episodes, and when the 4th comes out, we'll go ahead and let you know for sure, right, Coby? That's what I would say. But let's get right into SmackDown last night. Bray Wyatt. I think I've expressed my opinions on this show and a few other forums about the slow movement in the initial, and I'll preface this with, I'm a Bray Wyatt fan historically, like Swamp Leader Wyatt family work I found outstanding. I even dug aspects of the what we could have seen with the Firefly Funhouse and the Firefly Funhouse. Wow, that is a bigger tongue twister if you haven't said it in a while, by the way, guys. But the Firefly Funhouse and the Fiend. But I've felt since the entrance is electric every time, don't get me wrong. I just felt like this storyline thus far has been slow moving in relation to some other ones that we've seen. And yeah, we did get something impactful this week with Uncle Howdy delivering the Sister Abigail right in the middle of the ring on Bray Wyatt as LA Knight looked on in confusion. And just, I wanted to get each of your thoughts on the segment, and maybe even deeper than that, the rivalry as a whole. You know, we had the Mountain Dew Black match announced as well. Do you feel like this is a story that we may look back upon and go, you know, it was better than I thought? Or do you think maybe it is moving too slowly? Let's hear from each of you guys. Whoever, like Coby, if you'd like to go first, I'll just go down the,
yeah, I can. We'll kind of change it up the way it is on the side.
Yeah, that's
great. Make it not as formulatic as.
Absolutely, you got it.
You
got it, Coby. You're on though. Go.
I'm on.
What do you think about Bray?
Okay, so you asked if it's something we'll look upon or look back upon as something that was better than we originally expected or perceived, and I want to say that's still strictly dependent on how the post and show. I don't want to say post rivalry antics are covered. Because that's the thing is, we're someone as LA Knight who's, yes, he's up there in age, and you fundamentally don't know how long you're going to have him in the company for, and he's as phenomenal as he is on the mic, and his ability in the ring is as solid. I don't know if this hinders or helps LA Knight more post this. I do want to say throughout this, aside from the last 3 weeks, even though last week's just clawing the camera was meh, but the last 3-ish weeks, this has been taken up a notch. I compared it to an exponential growth. If you're a mathematical geek like I am, I'm not.
Yes,
I know math,
great example.
but it's the slow slope, and now it's like, okay, we're starting to ramp it up. It is without a doubt ramping up, and things are getting interested. Things are interesting, if you want to say so. I do think it's going to get I do think it is better now than it was a month ago, and it was just like, I don't want to say it was formatic. It was Bray Wyatt. Oh, my name is Bray Wyatt. Blah blah blah. So I want to know what happens after to even answer that question. If this is good, because we've seen it in the past. We've seen the Fiend work with Seth Rollins, Bray Wyatt, Bray Wyatt himself. We've seen the Fiend work with so many people, and nobody came out of it looking better. And I don't want that to happen to LA Knight, even though I think it will.
Oh, that's a really good point you make about LA Knight and the way that it could affect his character in the long run. Ignacio, do you have thoughts on the segment from last night? What'd you think?
Yeah, well, first, I think overall, I think this was a very good episode of SmackDown to close out the year. A lot of storyline progression going into the new year, and this coming week up into the next Raw and SmackDown and so forth, leading up into the Royal Rumble. So overall, I thought it was very good. As far as this segment, it has dragged on a little bit, and I felt like I didn't like some of the things they did as far as like the whole abduction and kidnapping deal. Could have done without that. I was starting to kind of sour on it a little bit there, but I think the reason why I'm being a little bit lenient on is because it is Bray Wyatt. Yeah. And I thought yesterday, what I mean by that is that I'm looking to see what plays out, kind of like what Coby was kind of saying or alluding to. I'm kind of waiting to see it play out, but I think this was Bray Wyatt and LA Knight's best exchange so forth, or best exchange as far as them as an in-ring segment and making contact together. I thought it was really good, a really good exchange, war of words, if you will, or what have you. A good challenge segment. But I think that, and the only reason why I probably think this is because I already know what Bray Wyatt can do and what he's capable of. But I think that LA Knight has been the star of this feud so far, or this program. Because I think that not everybody knows what LA Knight can do, and he's showing it. But bro, he just comes out like he looks like a star. He acts like a star. He dresses like a star. He looks like $1 million. He's comfortable on the mic. You can tell that
the mic work is outstanding, right?
Well,
to your point, it's really, really good. It just is.
the reason I think is because that's him in the ring. Like, that's an extension of who he is in real life. And I don't know what this pitch black scenario exactly is what's gonna be, but if it, I don't know what it's going to be or what they're alluding to as far as the type of match they're actually going to have. But I smell cinematic bullshit. And if that's the case, then I'm out.
That scares me as well.
I think I didn't like it when they had it a couple of years ago, and I get it. There, the pandemic and blah 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 blah. Okay, but let's leave that back then, and let's see what Bray Wyatt has to present as far as an in-ring product, and how that's gonna help his character and character building with this type of character that he's trying to prevent with everybody. Now, I absolutely do believe that the individual that came out as the Uncle Howdy or Captain Howdy or whatever the name is.
Whatever they're calling him now. Apparently they trademarked Captain Harper as well, by the way, which may be another character.
Is that right? Yes. I think it definitely is.
I think it was just Uncle Harper. I don't
Uncle Harper,
anything.
maybe. I'm sorry, Uncle Harper, but
I don't remember anything.
They did trademark that as well, which we can get into that later. Sorry, I didn't want to throw you off your train of thought there, but did want to mention that too, because to your point, and I got to hear your reveal on who do you think it is, because we've all got opinions on this one. Who do you think it is?
Well, I think it's because of the when he was standing next to Bray and just kind of like the frame and the physics of everything and the mannerism stuff. I think it is Bo Dallas, but I don't know, man. I think overall, I'm just waiting to, kind of like Coby alluded to, I'm waiting to see it play out. But I think this is just to progress Bray Wyatt's character, and that LA Knight's eventually he's just going to be his first victim. And I don't think any LA Knight's going to be presented in a main event light going forward. I think he's going to be stuck in the mid card, and I think that's kind of a shame, because he has the verbal chops to be in that main event picture.
I agree with you on LA Knight. That's one of my biggest fears, is that he's going to put in such great work on this storyline, but then will be the extent of him being featured very high on the card. Because given Bray Wyatt's return, even though it's not in the title picture per se, I would call this higher on the card, right? Than maybe we would expect a rivalry from more mid-card rivalry from an LA Knight making his re-debut as LA Knight on the main card. So I totally hear where you're coming from there. And I know Soul's been chomping at the bit though too. So Soul, you got to get in your time here on Bray Wyatt. How did you feel about the segment? Do you agree that it was Bo Dallas? I personally, I'll bury the lead on this one. I agree. I thought it was Bo Dallas based on the mannerisms. I think people don't recognize, because we haven't seen them in the ring next to each other so often, that Bo Dallas is a larger physical figure, and a lot of people were thrown by the fact that he was, of similar size to Bray. To me, I wasn't bothered by that. I recognize Bo Dallas is a bigger dude than you would necessarily expect based on some of his history in NXT, and I thought it was him as well. Ignacio, I do totally agree on that as well.
No, I see your points. I will say, though, that I do agree with Ignacio quite a fair bit on this whole thing.
It's frozen over.
I know.
We did it.
The New Year's ended with a cataclysmic news event. But no, I soured on this real quick when Bray was coming out doing the "I'm me, I love everybody, I'm the real me," and I don't think that suits him.
Sounded almost childish, right?
Yeah, I really prefer the Firefly Funhouse Bray trying to put on a fake persona to lure you into net security, and then it just bam hits you with the Fiend, and you're really screwed over. I do agree if this Pitch Black Mountain Dew sponsored rubbish is a cinematic match, it's going to be terrible. I only think cinematic matches should happen based on three things: location, character breakdown, and necessity.
Oh, that's a great point.
I think it would have been like, I love the Cena one, where they take Cena's character and just break it down step by step over the years. Like, if they did that with someone more recent, maybe Orton or Miz, you could do with Miz about his family and trying to be like a public life and put too much himself on the public. Orton, you could have just done his whole 20s attitude thing and just break that down. So I don't know about this match. I mean, also, it's not Bray's first ever match coming back. He had a match on a house show, so that's kind of ruined that whole mystique. If he can still go, if he can still act. Now the TV audience know, well, he's wrestled before, so he's got fine, and it's not really a spectacle to us. We've been passed over. sort of thing. I mean, I actually, to go about Uncle Howdy, I don't think it's Bo Dallas. I think it's Vincent from The Righteous, the Ring of Honor 6-man tag group.
And you know, there were some last night when we were discussing it. There were some other people who threw his name out there, and that would make a lot of sense. I think the only thing, and I think I talked about this with Coby, didn't Vincent have neck tattoos? And I think that would be the thing that might rule it out being him. I believe he had tattoos on his neck, and there weren't on the. Unless now you could always put makeup over neck tattoos. And
yes,
right. And so I'm not trying to say it's for sure not. That was the one that was one of the names that was floated last night as well. I mean, he's still obviously in the pool, I think.
Yeah.
But that was the one that kind of threw me on him. I will say one more sentiment I just had about the segment. I thought it was interesting. I thought Bray Wyatt took this Sister Abigail like as well as anybody, the cell and everything. I thought that was kind of ironic given that it's his finishing move. Like, I thought he sold it excellently as if he was completely unconscious on the ground, face down, the way he had his arms sort of behind him and his legs sprawled out. I thought he sold that move as well as anybody, and the irony of it being his own move. That one wasn't lost on me. Does anyone have anything on? You guys agree, disagree, anything on that?
No, I fully agree with you there, pal. I'm good with that. I do agree.
Yeah, Coby, Ignacio, did you?
Yeah, I was
think
going to say
on the Abigail itself. I thought it was a good
100%,
sell.
Oh, it was 100% a good sell. Like, I mean, I didn't watch it at the beginning, but the Rumble 2020, I don't want to say I vividly remember it, but I remember like the strap wrapped around Sister Abigail he gave to Dan O'Brien was very sick, and a lot of his stuff with Dan O'Brien is amazing. But the thing I think that puts me in the direction of Bo Dallas is if you looked at the picture that they posted where the light was clearly on his face, you saw that there is like the L. Like, he has the goatee, but he has those empty spots.
That goatee is pretty telling.
And Vincent had a full beard. There are pictures of Bo Dallas with that.
No, obviously you can shave facial hair, but that goatee is pretty telling because it is a
can
style that he's rocked.
Exactly.
In the past.
You can shave it. You can put those together as I think it is Bo Dallas. And I said, well, fundamentally, yes, you could cover up the tattoos. We have CM Punk covering up the tattoos and heels.
Exactly.
Like,
either way, I think this is
But
one of the better Bray segments thus far. I think we're all in agreement on that. So let's move along to let's talk about that women's title picture. I guess I would call it now, because it wasn't just one match. We got two. It was Ronda Charlotte. In the second one, it was Ronda defending the belt against Raquel in the first one, which I thought was arguably Ronda's best bell-to-bell title defense yet, ironically. And then they came out and had Charlotte make her return with new theme music. So we have plenty of topics to cover on this segment. Not only that, they basically booked her into a Money in the Bank cash-in spot without a briefcase. Now, I'm not complaining because I do understand Charlotte Flair's work rate and her value inside of the ring and from a storytelling perspective and as a performer. But I did find it interesting that Ronda defended against how does it make Raquel look? So I want to start with that aspect of the segment. How does it make Raquel look if she loses to Ronda before the belt goes on Charlotte? Does that knock her, do you guys think, out of the title picture, or is Raquel Gonzalez a legitimate threat to Charlotte Flair? Because we don't know if Charlotte Flair is going to be defending this belt as a heel or a babyface. I'm presuming heel personally. I don't think the babyface thing lasts for long for Charlotte after a return. She gets a babyface happy to see you back pop, and then is right back to being a heel. It generally feels like, even if she's working under a babyface type of scenario. And so I just want to hear you guys' thoughts on that dynamic. What's the title picture look like coming out of this? And then also, if you have any other organic thoughts on the segment, I thought this one was maybe the most fascinating part of the show last night.
I'll start this off right here then, going on about
Charlotte. I'll go right ahead.
I mean, I was shocked. I was surprised that she made a return. I mean, what was it? She was apparently off of like a shoulder injury. Is that the rhetoric?
I do believe it was a shoulder injury, yes.
Yeah, they wrote her off with it was either shoulder or elbow. I can't exactly remember, but she ended like they wrote her off that way. That's why Ronda was like, "Oh, how's your elbow?" But she sucked in her delivery.
That's fair dues. I mean, the match between Raquel and Ronda. I mean, I wasn't a fan. I was just like, because I knew going into this, like Raquel's not going to win. Like if Ronda's going to win at anything or lose at anything, they're going to pay per view. But I was swerved because Charlotte makes a return with new theme that I don't like. It's like the woo, then bow down for your queen, and then it's just like 80 cents jazz going, and it's kind of like, all right, cool, fine, I don't care, on you go. And then Charlotte's like, now Charlotte's a 14 times champion, but like if you look at the range, like 1 or 2 weeks or even less than that, and it's just like that's just inflation, man. Jesus,
it's quantity over quality.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. I mean, even like Ronda's promo to Charlotte coming back was like, "Oh, you're back after hurting your little elbow, and you think you deserve a title shot." I mean, that was just bad, man.
I actually agree. I thought that was a weak point of that segment. No question. Was
the only thing I can see
part of the mic work?
Yeah, the only thing I can see coming out of this title loss is a Shayna versus Ronda feud, because you can clearly see Shayna was like, "Don't do it, you're gonna lose," and she's like, "No, I got this. I'm a champ," and then she got knocked out like how she got knocked out in the UFC. I mean,
yeah,
it wasn't for me. I mean, Raquel's going to be a big star. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh because I do think she's got potential, but she just feels like the Nia Jax. The new Nia Jax is that big.
She's just so physically imposing, though.
Yeah, she's physically
not
imposing.
that Nia's not, but just the athleticism in relation to.
Yeah, exactly.
Nia
She's like
Jax
that
is
physical
apparent.
obstacle. If a woman wrestler can get past this physical obstacle, she can get past anything. That's what I feel like her role is.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, Ignacio, what were your thoughts? Well, no, I agree with you on that, Soul, for sure. Ignacio, what were your thoughts on the segment?
Well, I thought the match itself was pretty good. I think this was Raquel's probably best match she's been up to the main roster, because they've been kind of just presenting her kind of like a spaz, kind of. I don't know. Like she used to come out to the ring and she smiles and she's, clapping hands and all this stuff as she flexes. And her gimmick was like, "Oh, I got big traps and shoulders and I can smile."
Yeah, it was too nice for a woman that looks like that, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but this
she should be presented as a badass,
Yeah, she came to the ring kind of fired up with a little bit of intensity and stuff.
Yeah.
And then when her and Ronda came to the ring, she was kind of staring her down, and she looked very imposing, like you said. So, and then the match was good. It wasn't bad at all on either party. Ronda did pretty solid. She did pretty good. I think Raquel's going to be a star. Well, she hasn't been in the wrestling business for that long. Like, by the way, she's from the Rio Grande Valley.
It's like 3 or 4.
Yes, absolutely.
3 or 4 years, I think.
Yes.
So yeah, she's from the Valley. She's from my front. But no, she graduated college. She only got like 2 years of wrestling training at Rudy Gonzalez's welding school in San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, I didn't know she was trained by Rudy Gonzalez. That's really cool. That's really great information.
So she went there, and dude, after about a year and a half, 2 years, she went straight to NXT, and she was at the Performance Center. Dude, she said she doesn't have that long, so she's gonna be a star. She just needs to maybe they can give her a break after this match, and then kind of represent her or repackage her. She needs to be like a monster, kind of like imposing, like the way kind of with a little bit of attitude, kind of like the way Rhea Ripley is. But I think she'll be fine, and this isn't gonna be her last title match, but. Ronda, I think the reason why they did the switch here is because they realized that the bloom is off the rose with her. Like she's and everybody says that she kind of brought Shayna. I think actually the combination with her and Shayna is actually pretty good, but I think just the bloom is off the rose overall. I think she doesn't have the drawing power she did initially 4 or 5 years ago. So I think that's the reason they did the title switch, to have the big pop, the big surprise for the new year, the last show, the last show of the year, going into the new year. And I think they realized that Ronda and Becky Lynch, which is what I heard, what they were going to plan for WrestleMania, isn't going to be the draw that it's going to be. So that's why they took the title off her, bro, because she's not progressing, she's regressing. Her promos still aren't good. I don't think her heart is fully in it, and she's just waiting for her contract to expire, and then that's that. And Shayna Baszler at the end, right before the match with Charlotte, did her job pretty good. She was trying to, stop. Hey, don't have the match or whatever, and then blew her off. And it's a shame because I think they can do a lot more with Shayna. And I can't say that they didn't try to at the beginning but this was also a mistake. They tried to push her too hard. When they move her up to the main roster, she was like eliminating people from the Royal Rumble,
biting the neck.
And then
they did the classic CM Punk booking right for Elimination Chamber. She eliminated everybody in the match.
Yeah, and then people weren't buying it. I think if they would have presented her in another light, it would have been. It would have been a slow build with some vignettes and all that stuff. Because then again, she came up from NXT and everybody expected her to know who she was, bro. And nobody did. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And then going into Charlotte, I just think Charlotte's a star, dude. She's in great shape. She's big. She's an imposing figure. Also, I've seen her. One time when they went to they did a house show in McAllen, Texas, or Hidalgo, Texas. There, I met her at the gym.
Oh, that's awesome.
She is an imposing figure, dude. Like, she's big. She's got a big
tall.
frame.
She's tall as could be.
Yeah, she's tall. She's a big girl, and she's just a star, dude. She's the best. She's the biggest star in women's wrestling history. She's the best of all time in that category, in my opinion. So
I would agree with that.
Is she gonna be? I think she's gonna be the dude. She got a big baby face pop. She went into the crowd. I think she's gonna be the baby face on SmackDown because who else do they have? They don't have anybody that's ready to take that spot. You know what I mean?
It's a really good point too on the who would be the next baby face, and especially because we're in agreement on. I don't know necessarily that Raquel, unless she's going to be some kind of monster baby face, almost anti-hero type tweener. She doesn't fit the babyface role either. Neither does Shayna. Neither does a lot of the top of that division. And that's where I think as much as I love and respect Liv Morgan, losing her as the ultimate babyface too for a minute. Not that they lost her, right? She still exists, but they definitely had something at the Money in the Bank deal. The babyface side of the card in the SmackDown Women's Division is a tough thing booking wise going forward.
Unless they're planning on, which doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon, unless they're planning on bringing back Sasha Banks, then I think, Charlotte's right? going to be their girl.
And I think Sasha, to your point, is the biggest splash you could make in that regard, right? As opposed to moving someone over from Raw, like moving a Bianca over from Raw if she were to lose the title, or moving a Becky even somehow over from Raw. Just moving a babyface type of name over. I think the bigger splash would obviously be getting Sasha back. That one is that's the biggest impact you could make in that regard, especially just given it's funny. It lends itself to the classic, like, right. All the best wrestling has a little bit of realism, and
just one more thing before we move on to Coby, but dude, it's kind of sad because they don't have anybody to fill that. They don't have anybody to fill that spot. It's all the same. They recycle the same people. It's either they have to throw Becky back over there, get Sasha back, or turn Bailey so she can take it or whatever, moving back and forth. Like Bianca, I think she's like, I don't think they're getting out of her what they hoped.
Yeah,
and I just don't think she's ready to take that kind of responsibility. I mean, she's done okay, filling a spot there on Raw, but I don't think she's the flag bearer that they all hoped she was. I think they need to start building up some more stars, and they're really counting on Bianca, but she's not. In my opinion, she's not hacking it, bro.
I think just for continuity in the women's division, to your point too, on the building up more stars, we've seen a lot of these matchups before, right? And so it's repeat rivalries. It's recycle rivalries. Like sometimes, I mean, we've seen a few women's division title matches in the last year where it was like, well, they wrestled once where they flipped heel babyface roles, and then now she's the bad guy and she's the good guy, and it's like, but we still have seen it. And so so the first 10 minutes of the match will be the one that got beat down in the first match is getting beat down in the second match, and it is what it is. But it does feel a little bit like they keep throwing us in a dishwasher, and we're just getting the same. They're clean dish. Yeah,
you can kind of change. And then I don't mind seeing Becky against Charlotte, or Becky against Bailey, or Becky against
right.
Flip flop them all the way around. But the thing is, you have to change around the story to it,
Yes.
And you can only do that so many times. It's like when everybody used to complain about Brock and Roman, right?
Yes.
So you can do Brock and Roman. You just got to change the story around.
Give us a reason to see it again. Yeah, give us a
Correct,
reason to see it again, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Coby,
All right,
and I know he's been waiting. No worries, Ignacio. Coby, I know you've been waiting, chomping at the bit. Let's get it going. What do you think about the Ronda Charlotte situation and that segment from last night?
So, I mean, if you guys, me and Clark wrote this. If you saw my quote about the match at Survivor Series, my statement still stands. I said you can count the number of good matches Ronda Rousey had this year on one finger. And I still believe you can because there's two bends in your finger. WrestleMania stunk. The Backlash I Quit match was good, and this match was solid. Not as solid as the I Quit match, but it was good. It was passable. Ronda sucked in the promo, but Ronda was actually, I don't want to say impressing me, but Ronda wasn't pissing me off, if you want to say it that way. And I'll say it. You can count it on one finger. I do want to agree with Ignacio, and that's the thing is people want to say Bianca Belair's this big star, and I was like, outside of Becky Lynch had the hiatus from SummerSlam till then, and even then Bianca won the title at WrestleMania. She has never been that flagship top main star of the division. We saw Becky Lynch was in the main storyline, and Bianca was playing second fiddle when it was, Bianca, Becky, Asuka. And then they did the SummerSlam match. And then Bianca versus Bayley was good because of Bayley. Like, I don't think she's delivering. And that's why when I originally voted for Female Wrestling Star of the Year, which this isn't revealing the winner, but I did vote Becky Lynch because I still think from every angle she did, even coming back from her injury, she is firing on all cylinders this year. And I loved the Big Time Bex storyline. I feel this was a big mistake putting Ronda and Shayna together. I said this before. Ronda challenged Shayna to bring back that monster, and then we have Shayna basically being Ronda's bitch by attacking, like choking out whoever is opposing Ronda. And then not to mention the gauntlet match from last week. Shayna Baszler ripped off the arm brace, taunted with the arm brace, and got rolled up. That made her look as bad as R-Truth would. Like, it's not connecting, and this pairing shouldn't have worked. I said it. Extreme Rules, you should have had Shayna Baszler destroy Ronda Rousey. You could have had Liv Morgan crawl to the pin. You could have separated Liv and Ronda because they never had any chemistry to begin with. You could have Liv and Sonya, and I'll say this again, coming out of Extreme Rules, I had more interest in Liv Morgan's direction because of the crazy gimmick they were going with. Liv and Sonya delivered. Ronda hasn't delivered a single thing since last night's match, and then she choked it with the promo. Where
okay, wait, hang on, Coby. I actually hear where you're coming from, but
and then still got squashed.
One thing I wanted to ask you about though, Coby, and because we had actually mentioned it earlier, I actually believe it was Ignacio that brought it up, where Shayna played her role during the back and forth on the microphone between Ronda and Charlotte. And I thought that was actually one of the positives of the segment, especially for Shayna of late. She appeared to me as more like a corner woman type of like, right? She had the towel around the neck that Ronda had come out in, and the black belt as well. And she was kind of advising her fighter per se to not do it. I thought that was some of her best work in recent weeks. Do you see a future in the pairing with that kind of dynamic, or do you still stick to they just need to go their separate ways and kind of repackage?
I mean, I'll say my 2 cents. I think Ronda and Shayna should be in the tag division.
Ooh, okay. I really like that. So let's hear, Coby, your take on that too, and then let's get into that really quickly, Soul, because we do have some time before we get to the main event.
We do, we do got time.
Yeah, we have a couple minutes. I'll say, as long as you go quick.
The way I'll say it is, and I mean, this is another thing, is the rumor is that Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey is no longer the plan. And I said this a month or a few weeks ago. I said there is zero desire for me to see that match. I would understand why they're doing that match because it's going to make the money, it's going to draw. Mm-hmm. Now, if they're believing the same way, it's like, okay, well, my take isn't far off, at least. To say, like, I'll agree, Shayna looked good in that position. Does that make me want to see more of this pairing or more of a Shayna Ronda feud? No, it doesn't. Not at all.
So
And
back
I
to
don't
Soul's
think
point
I don't
then
think
about
you
the
can
tag
put-
division, because
I
let's get
don't
into that
think you
really
can-
quick, Coby.
Yeah, I don't think you can put them in the tag division because I mean I don't want to say that devalues Ronda Rousey, but then who you don't have another team.
But is it hard?
Unless
Is it
you're
hard?
gonna
It's
call
hard to
someone
imagine
up.
her going right back into the title picture. I actually want to hear Soul's thoughts on this because he brought it up in the first place really quick. So,
I'll continue. I'll continue what I was saying because I wasn't finished my point.
Okay.
Like I'll say it again. Like, okay, I understand they can go into the tag division. If you take the titles off of Damage Control, okay. You don't have anyone unless you're going to pair a Becky Bianca or a Becky Charlotte to take the titles off of them. You're not are you going to call up Toxic Attraction and beat them? No. I wouldn't mind it because I think they're going to get a new leader soon, blah, blah, blah. I don't think you could physically build another tag team to take that off of them.
Okay, and I really didn't want to extend this, but how can your argument be
pick.
that if they have nothing now, that they'll have nothing if it extends from now? That was right. So if they have nothing right this second, you pair Ronda and Shayna to win the belts. Then they have nothing after that. That would be a problem you would solve then.
Well, they do have something now. They are going to go in some direction. They do. I don't care to see it.
Okay.
I'm not going to be excited to see it.
No, I got you. We get it. So
Unless
you don't
they make me excited.
You don't like the Ronda Shayna pairing. I totally get that. Okay. So I want to hear your thoughts on the tag pairing
to begin with.
Look, I think putting them in the tag division is simple because of the old classic saying, the wrestler doesn't make, the belts don't make the wrestler, the wrestler makes the belt. Those tag belts have been absolutely tarnished through their vacancies and not being used and not getting TV time and just being absolutely thrown to the wayside. I do think if have Shayna and Ronda take the tag belts, you've got a big star in Ronda and Shayna who can be great. Let them have a good continuous run, and then when Toxic Attraction is ready to come up on the roster, have them do a feud, and then Toxic Attraction take the belts, and by that time I think Ronda's contract will expire with the WWE and she can go her own separate ways. As for Toxic Attraction, who should become the leader? Honestly, I would not mind Cora Jade becoming the leader of Toxic Attraction with her new sinister gimmick.
Would you not mind them just staying as just the two and no true leader? Just staying as like a true tag team? Because I do think they operate as much as a tradition, as a traditional tag team of anybody in the women's division, right? They have a co-entrance. They have not traditionally matching gear, but they operate as a true tag team as opposed to two singles wrestlers.
So here's the thing: if you mention Toxic Attraction to anybody, they're going to be, or wrestling fan, they're going to be, the faction with Mandy Rose as their leader.
That's a very good point.
They're a faction now. They're not attacking them. They're a faction. They need a leader. They need someone that can tell them the charge. And I feel like Cora Jade could do that, and I'd be wholeheartedly all for that. Cora Jade leading a new Toxic Attraction going onto the main roster. Toxic Attraction take the tag belts off Shayna and Ronda, and who knows, maybe Cora Jade could win the respective Raw or Women's SmackDown.
It could also, long term, by the way, to your point, Soul, be an opportunity for the two to turn on Cora Jade down the road.
In the future, yeah.
If Mandy were to be brought back, right, there's extra juice lying around there for later. If you were to make that pairing where it makes sense, right? So
we'll see.
If there was a scenario where Mandy could return, she could rival with Cora Jade or the whole group, right?
I would only break up Toxic Attraction if the tag division is basically done for and the belts just be redundant, because you need because they work as a tag team, keep them there if it works, but if they're getting rid of the tag division, break them up and then have a few for Cora Jade, and that's something you can do down the line.
That makes perfect sense. And before we move on to the final subject, Ignacio, what's your thought on that? We
do have a comment too.
Pairing. Oh yeah, and then we'll see.
We do have a comment, and we can kind of let Ignacio take the reins with this one. What if WWE did a possible WrestleMania rematch between Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, but this time Rhea gets the big win from Charlotte and wins the championship? Shoot.
You want me to comment on that first, or?
It's up to you there, Ignacio.
Yeah,
it's up to you there.
Camera's in the spotlight. Go ahead.
Well, I'll comment on this comment this person submitted, and then I'll go into my opinion on the tag division. So, seeing Charlotte and Rhea would be absolutely tremendous, bro. Because I love their first meeting at WrestleMania. What was it, 35? 36. I'm sorry.
I believe it was 36. Yes,
It
that
was
was actually the empty
36
arena.
Yeah, empty arena.
Bro, I thought that the personalities and the matchup and everything was tremendous. I thought, and it was for the NXT women's title. I would love to see that again, especially. I don't think this isn't a knock at Charlotte, but I mean she's maintained her fandom and her superstar-ness. She's still on the top of the card, and she's still the very best there is in the business in any women's division. And Rhea is the most up and coming superstar in any women's division. So I think that would be a marquee match, and that match would actually sell tickets and pay-per-view buys and Peacock subscriptions or whatever. I think that would be an ultimate draw, a big draw, and that would actually merit the women main eventing either a night 1 or a night 2 of one of the WrestleMania nights, either night 1 or night 2. So I think, yes, that is a good idea. That's tremendous. Whoever submitted that. I can't read it on my screen. I'm sorry. Great comment. Yes.
Says numero 1 Superfly.
You're good. Numero 1 Superfly. And then, then just if you had any insight on the tag division too, because I know you had one ready there. I could tell too. I think the tag team, the women's tag team, the titles, it's just one of those things, man. Not everything has to be equal between the men and the women. Just because the men have a tag team title doesn't mean the women have to have one. Like I know, like Toxic Attraction, they got great chemistry and they had great chemistry as a faction. And I think they actually had better chemistry than Damage Control, because I can't stand seeing Damage Control. I completely agree. I just want to know why they're paired together.
They get them a lot of TV time, man, on Raw, SmackDown, and they were even showing up on NXT. But they can work factions and tag teams, but they don't have to have a tag team division, man. I just think that, those titles are kind of meaningless, and I just think maybe they probably benefit more from a mid-card women's division title. And
that would be that's an excellent idea as well, because I think there's more singles competitors.
Correct, yeah, and I think it just makes more sense, and they can build more stories around that championship and that division. I think the tag team titles, because I mean, who'd you have Damage Control wrestling against recently? Asuka and Alexa Bliss. They just
it was two singles thrown together. It wasn't a real team. I think depth of the division is a huge problem, Ignacio. Right? You know what I mean? There's just not enough teams.
Yeah, the last defense was against the new combo of Tegan Nox and Liv Morgan. Exactly. But I'll 100% build upon this, and I think we can all agree when they introduced it and when the roster had the depth, it fit, and then they made the cuts. That's what killed the division at the end of the day, and we saw it. They had a chamber to crown the inaugural champions, and it was a solid match. I still wholeheartedly believe the Iconics should have won the chamber, and you should have had Sasha Banks.
But I mean that's 2 years old. The Iconics aren't even in the industry anymore, Coby. So I will say this.
But at the end of the day, they had the depth before, and now they don't.
And the Iconics were actually a tag team.
Yeah, but also, okay, it's main event time. We've waited too long. We've made the people wait for it. It's John Cena time. John Cena was back last night. We all saw it with his bald spot and all. Shout out, John. I'm a balding man myself, and so no hard feelings there. But we all saw it, and so I did have to. I couldn't help myself on word vomiting that one. But it's Cena teaming with Kevin Owens, I believe for the first time ever, and against Reigns and the honorary Usos. Ignacio wearing the t-shirt, one of my favorite t-shirts I've seen in wrestling in years. It was one of my favorite spots. You're still wearing a great shirt as well yourself, so it's no knock on that. I just, for this particular segment, that's why I plugged that shirt. And I have enjoyed Sami Zayn's work all the way up myself, and with the bloodline, what he's done, the long-term storytelling, the passion in the promos against his old friend Kevin Owens, all of that. This has always been exciting to me. Something that got pointed out to me this morning that I did not notice last night when I was watching is all 3 of the people in the ring with John Cena debuted on the WWE main roster in a segment with John Cena. I found that fascinating. That to me was a fun little tidbit. I love little like quirks and facts like that That was interesting. Cena got in. He did the 5 moves of doom or whatever you'd like to call them. And I don't mean that in a negative context. It's always fun to see him and have him back. It was one of the biggest draws in the history of the sport. I had my complaints about certain points in his career in certain matches, but I don't have a complaint about the big pop when he comes out and what he means to the children in the audience and all of that. It's always good to see Cena back. Now, on to the serious stuff, the match and the way it played out. We saw at the end of the day, Kevin Owens pick up the win. Clearly solidifies himself as the number 1 contender for the unified title at this point against Roman Reigns. Did it require Cena's help? Not much. Sami Zayn, while he stood out for much of the match, where does this leave him in this storyline? Where does this leave him with the bloodline? And I really want to get all you guys' thoughts because there's just so much to break down on this one. And I thought it was the runaway most intriguing segment of the night, as the main event should be. And I think that's also why we all agree last night was a very good SmackDown in relation to some of the other ones we've gotten recently. It built to a crescendo, and that's what you're looking for, especially with live television. Does who would like to start? Anybody want to go first? So you want to go first?
Get the thoughts out the way, right? Fine match, great way to end the show and end the year in general. Where I think this leaves Sami in a very tricky, pickly situation. As we've seen in the segment before, Paul Heyman said, don't get your name chanted, you're not over the tribal chief. And I feel like this is going to lead to the eventual downfall of the honorary Uce. We're more likely, going to see Roman Reigns being like, you cost me that, go redeem yourself. Maybe have a number 1 on match with maybe Kevin or Ricochet or some face on the roster, and then loses again, and then Roman's like, right, you're done. Or maybe this will be at the Montreal show they're doing for Elimination Chamber, and then boom, Sami's out of it, done. And then Kevin Owens comes, saves his buddy. They have a wee little bicker, reconcile, WrestleMania, Usos versus Kevin and Sami for the unified tag titles. Boom, does it, writes itself, and Roman does The Rock or Cody or whatever they're going to do for Mania. Easy, simple, writes itself.
I really like that idea. It's a really solid storyline idea too. And then Ignacio, do you have any thoughts on that or the segment itself?
Yeah, man. You got these 4 names in a main event spot. I mean, nothing's gonna go wrong. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. This wouldn't work without Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn. I'm talking about this match or the storyline progression, man. I mean, they're sitting happy that they didn't sign with AEW when they had the chance, because they probably would have gotten lost in the shuffle over there. They'd probably be sitting at home right now, wishing they were back in WWE. But they're glad to be there. You can tell they're glad to be there, and they're part of the main event picture. And I'm for anything that Kevin Owens is involved in, because I think he's long overdue for a shot at having the world championship. I don't think he's going to be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns, but I think this coming year they'll probably give him a chance at being the flag bearer for that company, because I think he can do it. And Sami Zayn's doing the best character work that he's ever done in his career right now, and a lot of that is because of Roman Reigns and his part of the bloodline. He was kind of getting a little bit lost in the shuffle a little bit. And I wasn't a big fan of his work at WrestleMania, but yeah, he's doing really well. As far as John Cena, I think they wanted the big rating pop for the last show. He did his spiel, what he does best. I think I appreciate John Cena more now when he shows up than I ever did back when he was on top in the main roster and full time. I really enjoy when he shows up. I wish we had 10 John Cenas in WWE right now, but
it's such a good point, and I have the same experience myself, right? Like, I underappreciated him when he was at the height of his career, and then now when we get him back, I go like, oh dang, like it's great. Like, it's just fun to see him back, and it's fun to see the reaction. Like, and even I made a joke last night, actually, Ignacio, I think you might crack up at this one. When he first came out, I go, normally I would complain about him like thanking the camera and really milking the moment, but the pop was so good. You could see how raucous the crowd was with all the camera shots. I was like, I'm fine with it. Take your time, buddy. Like, it's all good. It kind of cracked me up last night watching the show. I was like, oh man, that was cool.
Yeah, this is good. It's good storyline progression for Owens and where they're going with Owens and Sammy and Roman and the bloodline, because I think
Yeah.
Owens is the next contender for Roman, and that's a great matchup right there. And then they're talking about the split with Sammy and the bloodline and him possibly wrestling Roman in Montreal. So it's good storyline progression, but I don't think you're gonna see Cena for a little while. I think it was just an appearance for him to get for them to pop the rating, sell some tickets, maybe possibly at WrestleMania. But I think that's probably what we're gonna see enough of Cena for now. But a good
Well,
match.
see, yeah,
good
that's the
storyline
thing is
progression.
they sold us on why exactly he was going to wrestle on his original like Titantron promo, and he was like, "I haven't wrestled yet this year. I got to because you don't want to break that streak. Yeah, you don't want to break it. I mean, the understanding was there. Yeah, he was like, I don't think anyone expected Cena in full force like he was set 4 or 5 years ago." Or no, I guess 6 or 7 years ago, like when he was in his style stuff and all that. We didn't expect him in full force like that. We expected him to do what he was doing. He was there to get the big pop. He got the hot tag. It was funny to see him kind of calling his spots and get his audio being picked up from the mic. But I mean, it was just a fun thing to enjoy, and that's the interesting thing. And like, I have the youth in the side. I'm the youngest one on the show today. I think the only younger one on the show team is Ben Allison.
Is Ben Allison technically? I think it's only a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, it's like it's a couple weeks or like a month. It's closer to a month, but yeah, exactly. Like, I have the youth. I've never officially turned on John Cena, so I've always appreciated John Cena. But it's fun to see the people who are like, "Oh, we hated him then. Now now we know how to appreciate them." And I
don't think it was ever hated. There was just a disconnect, though, Coby. By the way, because hate would be a reach. I think there was more of a disconnect with the audience because he was catering to a portion of the audience that I was no longer in. Right, growing up and getting into my 20s, as he became more the Super Cena type, and you could never take away what he did with the Make-A-Wish Foundation and all of those great things. But he wasn't catering to me during that time in my life, and I think that's a lot where that comes from. To be clear, too, Coby, because I really like the point you made about the age difference and all of that, and that is a total factor. But I would say that's where a lot of my personal complaints came from, where I was used to more. Right, I remember, when I was a kid, it was the doctor of thugonomics. He was cursing at guys. Right, it was it was a different deal, and I think that lent a lot to the dissatisfaction with Cena's work in the 2010 to 2020 range.
Well, to be fair,
or the underappreciation. I wouldn't even say dissatisfaction. Say that one more time. So
that ECW crowd wanted to kill him, though. I mean, they truly hated him.
They did, and I think that was a little bit. I actually mentioned this when Coby and I were discussing it one time. I actually think that one hurt him a little bit because what happened is that ECW crowd was going to do that no matter what in that situation, and that's why they booked it the way they did with RVD and all of that. But then what happened is a lot of teenage fans saw that and go, "Oh no, it's cool to root against the babyface. It's cool to root against Cena. It's fun." The ECW, they were the cool kids at that moment. And in that moment, and I actually, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, but that was kind of the way I loved the moment. I loved the show. It's one of my favorite. ECW One Night Stand 06, one of my favorite all time. I was 15 years old. I had all my buddies over. We watched it at the house. It was, I'll never forget it. But I do think that was a huge factor in the way Cena's reception was from there on out. Is a lot of fans that previously may have rooted for Cena saw how funny it was for the t-shirt to get thrown back and for the ultimate good guy to be rooted against. And it made it cool in a sense for the audience. There's no way to quantify that, obviously, but does anyone have an opinion on that thought?
No, fair enough. I mean, I got nothing.
You kind of see where I'm going with that at all?
No, 100%. Like, I mean, there's a lot of people that'll hate the Yes movement and all that. Like, I knew a guy who said, "Oh, I hated the Yes movement. I hated the pipe bomb. Fans believe they can hijack shows and make the people like blah blah blah." And I mean, yeah, you can think that, whatever. I do, because we're not pressed for time, but I do want to add one thing that kind of did happen last night. That is being thrown on the radar, and this was when Ignacio mentioned just Cena coming back for Mania, which is a rumor. But we saw Batista backstage with Titus O'Neil.
That's a very good point.
So I just wanted to know, like, I mean, I have an idea that he was backstage because he was in Florida and he was just there because they probably told him something. And I think they told him he's going to be the headliner for the Hall of Fame. But
and I think ultimate call too, Coby, is will we see either one on either night of WrestleMania wrestling?
Cena and Batista?
Cena or Batista, not against each other, obviously, but
no, yeah.
Will either one lace up the boots?
No, I don't. Cena will. I don't think Batista will.
And so, who do you have Cena wrestling?
Well, I mean, the two rumors we've seen are either Austin Theory or Logan Paul. I'm fine with either.
Who do you have?
Well, I'm fine with either.
Okay.
If I had the book, I'd be going Sami Zayn.
In the words of Bully Ray, if you had the pencil.
If I had the pencil, if I had the notebook, I'd say you could probably sell people on Sami Zayn and Cena.
Okay.
Yeah.
Soul, any thoughts? You got a fantasy book Cena match at Mania this year?
I give him Logan Paul or LA Knight.
Okay.
But see, like, that's the thing. How does LA Knight go from losing to Bray Wyatt to John Cena? I saw that as a rumor. I saw that it was a rumor, and I'm like, that makes no sense unless you actually are putting over LA Knight. Which
maybe LA Knight, maybe LA Knight comes out like, now I am, the pediatrician of fucking-omics, and it's like, hang on, I'm the doctor.
Thank you, March76. By the way, we needed that.
Yeah, I don't. Batista had his final match.
Okay,
if anything,
Ignacio, you're Cena booking for Mania. Who do you got?
Well, this is what I thought, because they've been. I don't know if they're still batting back. I bet they are still batting back and forth. What's going to main event night one and then what's going to main event night two? But I think because there's still the Rock and the whole situation with him was still kind of up in the air. I thought to soothe the not the egos, but to soothe the minds of the individuals who are around the Rock and probably advising him not to wrestle at WrestleMania because he's probably going to get hurt or he might get hurt. I thought, because you got Steve Austin, who's been training vigorously, and he looks in tremendous shape from videos that he's been posting. He looks in tremendous shape, better shape than he was in last year.
Even when he wrestled Owens.
Yeah, Steve Austin prepping to do a match at WrestleMania. I thought that they would probably go with like Austin and The Rock against the Bloodline, the Usos and Roman, or maybe that's going to be the situation. If then maybe Cena Rock or Cena Austin and Rock against the Bloodline. What an attraction that would be.
That could be amazing.
How many tickets would that sell?
Talk about a poster, Ignacio, right? Like, that's one that's a must buy if you can do that. And now you got my wheels spinning. I'm even like, wait a minute.
We have a time limit.
What if you do that on Backlash and then you get Mania, you get Rock Roman, and you get Austin and Cena, or you get on separate matches and then you book towards that 6-man to headline WrestleMania Backlash? I think that would be.
Well, it would be do something to protect these guys, man. And I'll be real quick here because all these guys that they come back that have been off for a while, like it happened to Edge, it happened to Christian, it happened to CM Punk, bro. It happened to John Cena years ago against. It happened to Rock against John Cena years ago.
Yes.
So all these guys, when they take time off, they come back and they get hurt.
You lose that body callus. You lose all those years of taking bumps, and it does make you more injury prone.
So
it does, but you also got to look at who you're working with. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I was just gonna say, if they did a tag match, it would protect like Rock, it would protect Austin, and it would protect Cena by taking the load off of everybody and putting it, a little on Rock, a little on Austin, a little on Cena.
Yeah, you have the team aspect. I agree with you there. That makes a lot of sense too, especially with the amount of the age in the ring. You do take out the risk of having to go for a long singles like banger that puts you in a situation where you could have a long-term injury. That's a really, really, really valid point. And I totally agree. Okay, so we got, maybe like another couple seconds here, guys, to close this out. Unless Soul, you got more insight. I know Coby, you had one more thing to say, but let's get this going and then let's get on to celebrating our New Year's.
Got anything, Soul? No.
Only thing I got is to finish this cocktail.
All right,
I
perfect.
mean, the only thing that came into mind when Ignacio mentioned it, as I said, you look at who they're putting him in the ring with. I don't want to say Roman's unsafe worker. Like, I mean, we have that status with Randy Orton. He's one of the safest. The Miz is one of the safest workers.
Orton's hurt himself.
I think Orton is hurt right now. That happened, right? I'm not going to say that isn't, but I'm going to say I think like you're not putting them in a ring with someone who could potentially screw them up. So I do agree that would be safe for The Rock and Austin, and Cena could take the load because I think he'd be fine taking the load. But I mean, I think it depends. Like, it's who you're putting them in the ring with.
Absolutely.
Stone Cold trusted Kevin Owens. I assume The Rock would trust Roman.
That makes perfect sense. And let's go ahead and put a bow on this one, Coby. It's been our New Year's Eve edition of the Daily Broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Me, Coby, Ignacio, Soul, thank you and Happy New Year. We will see you in 2023. Please keep tuning in. Thank you so much.
Happy New Year,
we'll be back with myself, Soul, and Ben Allison tomorrow and Monday.
MVP of the Republic, boys.
No, I'm back. I'm back Monday.
Long story. You're back Monday too. You're back Monday.
I'm back Monday. I thought I was losing my voice yesterday, but it's
the viewers only care when MVP of the Republic's on. None of you other guys care. You care about me, the boy.
Come on,
MVP.
Anyway,
Happy New Year. We'll see you guys soon. I thought we killed the first try on the
See you in the new year.
All the best, everyone.